At this rate, Turtle Beach is going to have to set aside a desk because I'm basically working there. Good afternoon, welcome to Turbo Tortoise Tech. If you're new here, I'm Reese of the 4-piece variety. I will get Triple XL. We do sarcasm. I have now reviewed the 500, the 600, and the 700, basically the entire Turtle Beach range. After having absolutely no experience with them, I now am basically a walking catalog. But jokes aside, I'm very glad to have had the opportunity because they really are, especially where console gaming is concerned, one of the most prolific brands out there. And now we have a dual dongle, cross-platform, multiple continuous connection headset with enough battery life for like 27 years. I'm not even kidding. The battery life tests to 80 hours were probably at 100% volume because in 20 I used 11%. 11%. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, let's go through what's in the box. So inside the box, there's two 2.4 gigahertz dongles. There's a very nice little rubberized Type-C charging cable, plenty of length and stuff in it. There's a quick start guide, and then of course the headset itself. The dual dongle idea is to set it up so that you can have it on PS and PC, and then just click one little button on the headset and it'll instantly switch between the two, which is actually pretty cool. It does have a slight delay when it does a switch, but it actually works, which is a big plus. And then you can have a Bluetooth connection to the headset at the same time. That's obviously very inherently advantageous if you're playing games a lot, and then you can just connect your phone to it, and then you can answer while you maintain your online game. So you don't have to pause for mom anymore. Now, these being their top line model, you'd expect the build to be quite overkill, and basically it kind of is. So we have a little flip out microphone here on the side as an example. It does have a tiny bit of twisty motion over there to get it slightly further in front of your mouth, but it's basically exactly the same as even the 500. It's basically even exactly the same mic as they have on the 500. That's not really the updates and the focus over here. What they were focused on is putting 60mm drivers that act like two 18-inch bass bins on the side of your head. It is quite a weighty boy because these stalks on the side are full pieces of aluminium, and then yeah, just the biggest cans you could possibly get. So yeah, they are looking for circumoral over here. If you have particularly large ears, it should fit you. My actual ears themselves are quite small, but there's a ton of space in there between the padding and where the ear cup actually sort of finishes. It looks like it's open, but there is a mesh over there just to protect the driver, but it's obviously with as much clearance as humanly possible to make sure that the audio isn't distorted or affected by that. The overall control scheme of these things is equally ludicrous. There are 3 volume sliders which are independently adjustable. So you could have one as your mic, you could have one as your game chat balance, and then one as your overall volume, just in case you didn't have enough functionality on the headset. Then there's a Bluetooth button, there's a dedicated mode switch button just above that, and then there's another mode button on the top left over here, which is actually for EQ modes, and then the power button doubles as the superhuman hearing on-off switch as well, and then there's a Type-C connector over there. The overall build and comfort of these is pretty good because of how much the stalks can rotate. They've done a really good job on that to make sure that it should fit pretty much any head type under the sun, whether you have a Easter Island head pip like myself, or the head of like, I don't know, a very small Q-tip. You will basically be fine either way. The headband itself has got pretty good cushioning over here. It wasn't, I would say, ultra premium, but it was comfortable enough. And even despite the weight, it actually didn't feel that heavy on the head. I often suffer with clamping forces just because of the width of my flip and pip, but it was actually pretty good with that. Overall, they were the most comfortable headset out of the range that I tested to date. They also had the most ludicrous amount of volume. I ran these at like 40% for the most part, and they were still very loud. And it's just as a top tip, before you use these, just turn them on and make sure they're off your head, because the beep that comes through to notify you that they're on is at max volume, and you will get slightly stunned as it hits you kind of thing. You might get a touch of tinnitus, which I wouldn't want to see happen to you because I'm your boy. The overall audio profile from these is very good. I don't like the virtualized sort of thing. I prefer when the game has control over that. So I did test it with a Counter-Strike stream, and there was an instance where it actually interfered with me, where it sounded like the guy was directly below me, but he was off to my right-hand side. So yeah, just be careful with the virtualization. If the game has really good audio, like Counter-Strike, don't use it, it's probably going to hurt you. If the game's got really bad audio positioning, then it might actually help. And the superhuman hearing, while it will completely distort media and movies and such like that, it will help you in gaming. It really does work because it just marks up all the mid-ranges where all the gunshots and snaps and stuff and the sound of, you know, people running are, etc., etc. It's all in that kind of range, and it just marks it up and makes it a lot louder. You can obviously customize the equalizer in the software, which is a big plus. You can customize your superhuman hearing. It'll do automatic firmware updates, and you can redo assignments and such that are on the headset, so you can completely customize the experience for yourself. The overall audio profile from these is very much suited to big bassy kind of environments. Listening to my house playlist on this was absolutely fantastic. Hip hop, that kind of stuff, all sounds really great. And a drum slap on this driver setup. You can tune it to get it a bit more of a flat profile, but it's very digital. It doesn't give you the sort of warm timbre of a Valve amp. It's very digital, like DAC kind of audio that comes out of here. It's not what I would call an audiophile reproduction. However, it does actually pick up all of the sounds pretty well. Some of them are, like I say, more audible than others, depending on what you're listening to. But I wouldn't buy these strictly for an audiophile experience. What I would buy them for is the absolutely mental battery life. I used them for more than 20 hours and it only went to 11%. So if we run that back times 10, that's like 200 hours. From one charge, which is kind of ludicrous. I then just plugged them into a USB port to check if they fast charged from the USB 3, and they didn't. But it did charge over 11-ish or 12% in 30 minutes. So what I had used in 20 hours, I replaced in 30 minutes. If you plug these into a fast charge port, then they'll be able to charge from like a flat-ish to full kind of, basically you connect them for 15 minutes, you're going to have 20 hours worth of continuous playback after that. So you're really not going to be attached to these. I would just plug them in weekly, honestly, and you'll probably never ever run out of battery life. The more you keep the lithium cells topped off, the happier they are. So I would say that would be a kind of a good practice. As far as wireless range goes, it did do pretty well through walls for the audio. I have a very long passage over here into the rest of the house with very old thick walls from the 70s. It's a very old house. So yeah, it's and brick, just brick.com. So if one of our American friends with your wood house, you'll be fine. It'll still get pretty good range. The mic, however, will cut out before that, and it's not the best reproduction under the sun. Let's have a quick demo of that. Alrighty, so this is now the stealth headset that you are listening to. I can go through each one of the profiles on this just quickly so you can hear that it actually does change based on the input over here. So as you can see, everything has a little bit of a different sort of tonality and stuff to it, but the signature sound is probably the one that you're going to be using most of the time. I would say it's still pretty good for chat. You can still hear it's me, obviously, speaking and stuff. There's just enough in it to give it still, personality. It's not like it's a complete aircraft controller sort of hello tower, Roger, come in, like kind of vibe. So it's enough. It's still good enough that it's going to be obviously usable. It's solidly average on the mic, but the audio quality is very good. The dual Bluetooth modes is great. The ability to kind of flat pack it like that into a laptop bag and have it be a mobile sort of thing is good. They are, like I say, though, enormous. Check this out. If I put this on the sides of my head, you'll see how big these cans are. This is not stealth. And look, it's definitely not stealth. So yeah, they are very, very big set of headphones, and like I say, quite weighty because of the inclusion of metal over here. I believe the metal does run into the band over here where it's extending as well, and it's obviously done internally there to make it quite nice and neat. They've got the Turtle Beach logo, rubberized embossed on the top. Overall, the build quality is pretty good. Their microphone is still the same. It's still got the same split mold seams and stuff on it compared to the other headsets. So yeah, that's, I would say, the only kind of downturn. These generally have a bit more of a solid, sturdier feel to them overall compared to the other two headsets. And with a price point of 5,500 Rand, I sure hope they would. But if you are into premium gaming focused audio, then these will be top of the list. If you're watching back media and movies and stuff, they're still going to be really good, and it gives you really nice boomy effects. Like if you're into that, like the kind of a home theater sort of experience with the big boomy sort of subwoofer, which your boy is into, being an East Rander in South Africa. That's really up my alley. And so yeah, in certain music areas, I prefer these to like my audiophile sort of headsets, just because it's marking up the frequencies and stuff that are attractive to my ear. Overall, I'd still give these a 9 out of 10. I do want to see them just improve the overall build quality of the microphone. That's my only real criticism for this particular headset. I do like that they've got the velour on the outside for the look, but on what actually makes contact with your skin, it's just a normal sort of plush bit, and that's not going to flake or get itself disintegrated and destroyed. It does look like they are removable as well, so you probably will be able to get spares and keep these around for a very, very long time. The battery life helps with that because it's going to keep its quality as it goes through its lifetime because there's so much of it. Anywho, that is all I have for you on the Turtle Beach Stealth 700. If you have enjoyed this review, please hit us up with a like and subscribe, and I will see you on the flip side.